Welcome to Step Into Success, a men's forum on personal growth, a supportive environment to explore holistic growth tools guided by empowering leadership and inspired by a community building through personalized coaching. So, for those of you who haven't met us, my name is Anna Marie, and my co host is.
Christine.
So, let me ask you a question. Are you or others feeling safe when they're talking with you or you with others? Well, by the end of this training, you will understand the importance of creating a safe space to communicate trust and growth with your children, significant others, and your colleagues. You will gain practical tools to foster openness, emotional security, and stronger relationships. So, Christine, when you feel unsafe, what do you do?
Mm. So the first thing I do when I feel unsafe, and I'm doing it now, you can't see it, but it's the snap, tap, and zap.
I love that. I can't tell you how important that has been. And I'll tell you guys a real quick story. Several months ago, I had been sick for a long time. And so I was talking to my friend and said, I'm losing it. I'm sick all the time. And she said, let's work on that. And I think it was, what was it, about 15, 20 minutes into our session together. And I just felt this huge relief. I can tell you since that time, I have been snapping, tapping, and zapping and letting it go since then. And even right now, we're talking, and Christine showed me how to do that. So I'm going to share the secret with you. Snap and do this under the table. Nobody needs to know that you're doing that, right? Nobody needs to know.
Nobody needs to know that you're calming your survival mode down. That part of the brain called the amygdala that is triggered into anxiety, into overwhelm, into stress, whatever it may be.
Yeah.
That, ah, relax and
Let it all go. Zap it.
calmness. Yes, zap it out and feel that calmness in you.
Yeah. So, really, what is a safe space other than calming ourselves? What is a safe space?
That's a great question, Anna Marie. And a safe space for me is like an environment where people feel safe, they feel secure to express their thoughts, their emotions, their feelings, their challenges without any fear of judgment, criticism, or dismissal. Because
Right.
we do sometimes get dismissed by people. They're too busy with XYZ, and it may or may not be intentional, but it will happen.
Yeah. And it's not about the agreeing or disagreeing with someone, right? It's about creating an atmosphere where differences can be shared without that fear of negative consequences, right? Or the negative feedback,
Yes,
right?
that's
I
what I was
love,
going to say.
yeah, I love feedback, but when it comes at me in a negative way, it instantly puts my walls up and makes me defensive.
Yes, and how can you communicate in that state when your wall is up and you're defensive?
You
You're not
can't.
you're missing parts of the communication. You're, interpreting, making maybe even stories because of your fears. And that emotional safety
Mhm.
is not about agreeing with people, but
Yeah.
it's about feeling safe. So, Anna Marie, why is this so important? I partly answered that, didn't I? But I know you have more that you can add to it. You're a fountain of wealth, so go ahead and add some more information in there.
Well, absolutely. When people feel safe, they communicate honestly and openly. And this is especially important when you're dealing with your children, your partners, and your colleagues, right? However, when we share our true thoughts, our true feelings, without feeling judged or dismissed, or I'm thinking that you're thinking something when you probably aren't even thinking that. But when we can build that deeper, 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 stronger connection, those bonds, we start to feel really safe with each other. And then it opens it up so that the communication it just free flows and there's no fear. You get more productivity done. You get your children to do things more, right? They automatically want to go outside and clean up the dog poop for you, right? And our partners, we wanna do special things because if I feel heard and I feel safe, then I just want to do even more.
Yes. An example of that, can you think of a time that you didn't feel safe sharing your thoughts or emotions?
Yes.
How did it affect your relationship with that person, Anna Marie?
Well, um, when I did not feel safe, I actually didn't speak much. I just nodded my head, agreed with whatever, left the room, and that relationship is very, very rocky. It's not open. It's not, we don't speak often, maybe once or twice a year, birthdays, Christmas, things like that. So it really makes me feel constrictive when I think about that relationship. And we want to feel expansive
Yeah.
throughout our life in every area, but especially when we're trying to communicate.
And I'm certain you are not alone.
No, no, I'm sure not. Yeah. So Christine, what makes a person feel safe or unsafe?
Mm, excellent question. So maybe the listeners right now can start thinking of what is it that makes them feel safe or unsafe. But I'm going to name a few. So you want to have a safe environment, whether you're in the house, in the restaurant, at work. You want to feel that you're being listened to without interruption. Now I'm guilty of that. I need to self regulate on. Isn't it nice when you could feel understood and valued as well? And knowing that emotions will be respected,
Mm,
that you won't be told, oh, that's impossible, Christine. Or, and I mean, I'm just stating a fact and I'm told it's impossible. So it does not give me the desire to want to communicate more and to share more of my amazing ideas, does it?
no, no,
So
it
that
certainly wouldn't.
judgment or, sorry,
No,
it's
I was
okay,
just saying,
go ahead.
yeah, see, there I am, right? Listening without interrupting. I just wanted to agree. You are right. You are so right.
Yes, and it's okay because we understand each other and we and I have zero constriction when you do that
Yeah.
because we're in that friendly zone where we understand and we both know that it's a challenge for us and we understand it. And it's kind of like a mutual agreement. So therefore, I'm okay with it.
Absolutely. So our emotions are respected, understood, and we value each other and what the other has to say.
Yes. No being judged or mocked or dismissed, right?
No, right.
So then there's these unsafe environments where you're being criticized,
Mm,
invalidated, fear of being misunderstood or ignored.
yeah.
Sometimes for me to communicate some ideas, sometimes to certain people, the words just don't come because there's that little fear in the back here that's hiding and is
Yes.
kind of hijacking my brain into fear mode,
Yes.
unconsciously, obviously. And then I'm like, oh, I have nothing to say, which you mentioned earlier.
Yeah.
Past experiences of being yelled at. So that's a big trigger. If you raise your voice, whoops, I might be triggered. However, I've overcome a lot of those triggers. So dismissed, ridiculed. You don't feel there's this trust happening
Yeah.
between you and the other person, or that they'll respond in a way that can be trusted. Hey, did you have
And
anything to add to that, Anna
I
Marie?
so the fear, right? We
Yeah.
become quiet because we don't what if they don't understand me? But there's also the fear of I need to go hide, right?
Yes.
I don't want to get into a confrontation because that person always comes at me. And so I'm just gonna, yeah, I totally agree. And off I run off, right? Because I don't want to have that battle. And conversations shouldn't be a battle. Conversations should be open and ready to hear and listen, right?
Mm.
Yeah.
So, what are, Anna Marie, some of the signs that someone does not feel safe with you? So, how will you notice and detect if you're creating that stress in the person? Because that will really help your communication, won't it?
Yes, absolutely. And I always tell my clients this, notice what you're noticing. And as you begin to start stepping in and looking at what's a safe environment. So let me ask you this, viewers. Go ahead and type in below in the chat, what is a safe environment for you? And what is an unsafe environment? We may not have hit yours specifically, and somebody else may be feeling the same way.
Yeah.
Right? So go ahead and put those in. So what I see is when someone doesn't feel safe talking with me, they're hesitant to open up. So, hi, my name's Anna Marie. And they say, my name's Bob. And that's it. Right? They're hesitant to even give you more information. Right? Or they change their words in mid conversation or they backtrack. Right? Well, I really didn't mean it that way. What I meant was, right? Or they avoid different difficult decisions or discussions, right? They just stop. I'm not going to make that decision right now. I'm not going to discuss this right now. I've got a meeting that I need to. We'll talk about this later. Is this urgent? Right? And they may seem a little anxious or overly cautious in their response. When we're communicating, Christine, there's always a pause. So when I pause to either take a breath or to wait for your response, depending on our communicating, you'll either go, I understand. That's great. I love that. Or you're going to think about it for a few more seconds than you normally would. But I've learned that because our communication is open, it's expansive, and we can say just about anything to each other. Does that make sense?
Total sense. And it's what, when we pause, it gives the opportunity for someone else to say
Yes.
something. Otherwise, we have the floor and we're going. I was on a podcast Monday, a
Yeah.
few days ago, and the gentleman said, I've learned to tell my interviewees to pause so I can ask questions. He says, one day this guy came on and he talked for 23 minutes straight. He says,
Oh,
I couldn't even ask him a question.
right.
And he says, I had to interrupt him in the end. He says, now I tell people pause once in a while so I can ask
Yes.
you a question. I mean, I'm laughing about it. It's not really funny. But at the same time, I'm laughing because I used to be that person.
Yeah, I get it.
Oh,
We
no.
get excited sometimes about, and we need to recognize that too. When someone is excited about something and they don't take a breath and they just keep going, you can very kindly and very softly, you can do many different, let me, can I, right? And make it kind of fun instead of going, are you done yet? Right?
Yeah.
Because sometimes my face can tell a story and I haven't even said a word.
Yes. Ditto.
Yeah.
Ditto. And that's learning to read those micro expressions on people's faces can be
Yes.
very
Yes.
interesting.
That's exactly right. And to remember you have those micro expressions as well.
Yes.
So, Christine, let me ask you this.
Mhm.
How do we create safety with our children? How do we create a safe environment with them?
I love that question because I was a teacher for 30 years. And these kiddos, these children, some felt safe with me and some didn't. We all have different personality. With these children, learning to listen to them
Yes.
deeply, attentive, without rushing to fix or correct.
Yeah.
They need to feel loved, heard,
Yes.
seen, and valuable. And if
Yes.
they're coming, mommy, mommy, or daddy, daddy, and you're like, oh, go away.
Yeah.
Haven't you bothered me enough times today? So there are many things that can be done, but the number one thing that I um, do now because of the journey that I've taken since my retirement is snap, tap, relax the shoulder, and stop. That's stress, the mind that's hijacking your connection with your child, and encourage their opinions, even if they differ from yours. And sometimes, as parents, that's hard.
Okay.
But we can also ask, what makes you say that?
I have a really good
Go ahead.
example. I have 10 grandchildren. And so
Mm,
I can tell you the difference real quick, Christine, about so when my kids, when I was raising them, it was, hey, I don't want to talk about that right now. You have to give me yeah, blah. But my grandkids have opened up a whole new world of thinking, feeling, responding, respecting, all of those things. And uh, my youngest is 18, my oldest is 20. My youngest is 8. My oldest is going to be 20 in a few months. And so the little one came to me and he said, "Yeah, yeah, today is Tuesday." And I said, "Well, honey, today is Tuesday." And he said, "Well, no, it's Tuesday. We get to choose if we're happy. We get to choose if we're going to smile. We get to choose." And so I almost cut him off at the knees, right?
mhm.
And correcting him. It's not Tuesday, it's Tuesday. But he was choosing, right?
Yes.
To be open and loving and caring and encouraging those around him to have a different view, right? By listening and it was just oh, I cried. And we sat probably, oh, I don't know, almost the entire day, but we sat for a few minutes and we talked about some more. And then we're driving in the car later and he's coming up with all kinds of different ideas, right? As we're driving. And so it was really nice to be able to do that.
And that's what happens when you create that safe space for your children.
Yeah.
They have an unlimited imagination that will come up.
Yes.
And if they want to be an astronaut when they grow up, or a
Yes.
mechanic, or sweeping floors, it doesn't matter. They're going to change their minds how many times,
Right.
right? But if we ask them, oh, why does that interest you? What makes you want to do that? Then we get to where that idea came from. Did they see it on TV? Did they see it? Did they hear somebody? Did it sound? Because sometimes we have no idea what that job really is.
Yes. That's exactly right. And they will, like you said, they will change their minds 1,000 times. But if we encourage them when they get to be adults, they won't feel stifled in creating the dream life that they want and creating the vision that they want to see in their lives. Because as adults, it's been pretty much beaten out of us, right? When we're in school and we're daydreaming about what we would love, they say, hey, come back here right now, right? Stop daydreaming, or you're not good enough to do that.
And
Whatever.
then when you get home,
Yeah.
you've got to go to soccer, you've got to go to skating, you've got to go to. So where's the
Yes.
space for the imagination?
Yes.
So on the ride in the vehicle is a great place,
That's right. That's
but
right.
finding those spaces
Yeah.
and using some reassuring language. If
Yes.
you say, oh, that's silly, don't worry about it. I'm not sure. Think about it. Put yourself in their shoes. If your boss said that or your mom said that, would you appreciate that? I
Right.
know now some people will say it doesn't bother me, but the question is, how does it sound? Does your child feel loved,
Yep.
heard, seen, or valued in that moment?
Yes.
You can ask, oh, you can say something like, that sounds tough. I'm here to help you if you need me. If you need me, so they
Yes.
know you're there. Or how can I help? Right?
Yeah. Perfect example with that. My youngest granddaughter, she was, oh, I think 10 at the time, riding the bus, and there were two girls that were bullying her best
Mhm.
friend. And so she stood up for her best friend. And then she was the one that physically got hurt because she was helping her friend. And when she had gotten home and she was just a mess, and she said, oh, all that, you know, rambling on about it. And that was really the part where we can't just go in, that's it. I'm going to go down and, beat up their parents. It,
Yeah.
it was a simple question. First, I'm sorry to hear that you went through that.
Yes.
Right. And that seems pretty rough. So if you'd like to talk about it, I'm right here to go in a little deeper. But my first question is going to be, how do you want to handle it? What would you like to see come out of this? Right? Because it's important that they have their voice. Because if I turn around, Christine, and go, that's it, I'm calling the school, I'm going to this, and I'm going to do this, and I'm writing a letter to the president, they don't feel supported because we're taking over. Let's let them and help them start making those great decisions even when they're young.
Yes, because they need to learn how they need
Yes.
to learn that their ideas, their thoughts have consequences, and some of them are amazing consequences, and they may find solutions that did not work for us, but that
Yes.
work beautifully for
For them.
them.
Yes.
If we
Absolutely.
find an idea may not be amazing, we're getting into a rabbit hole here a bit, but I'm
Yeah.
going to finish with that. If we can accompany them on the journey to be there if they fall, so that they learn that when they fall, we can be there to pick them up.
That's
Okay, so I
exactly
had a
right.
thousand other stories to
Yeah,
say, but I'm
we
going to
could.
pause and I'm going to go on to our next question, Anna Marie. How do we create safety with a significant other or a spouse or a boyfriend, girlfriend?
What is it? Whatever that looks like. That's exactly right. Well, I have this chair in the corner that says time out. And that's where I put, no, I'm just kidding. I'm just
Like,
neither one of us
oh, why?
neither one of us go to a timeout, right? But what we do, and we're my husband and I are in the beginning, we weren't perfect at this. I love to listen. My thing was, let me fix it for you. My
Mm,
husband didn't listen, so he didn't know what to fix for me.
mm,
So we avoid dismissing each other's feelings, right? So I can say, I'm really feeling overwhelmed right now, or you're overreacting, right? We want to change those things into, I hear you,
yes,
right? What's making you feel that way,
yes.
right? And when you're ready, we can talk about it. And if you
I,
don't want to talk about it, here's a journal. Right, and
mm,
that's what my husband does sometimes to me. He's like, "Where's your journal?" Because I can see this is a time for you to take a few minutes, and then we can talk about it. And we've learned these ways to talk to each other, right? And we are really good, yeah, we are really good at asking each other, "How are we? How are you doing? How am I doing?" Right? So, "How was your day?" is not it. That's a great start. Right? And if you listen to the stories that they're telling you about your day, you can help reflect and bring that up, right? And instead of it being negative, you can bring it as positive. If they have a positive, you can encourage them and create a dialogue like, yeah, that's great. Oh, I'm so proud of you for doing that. That sounded amazing. Good job. We can do that all the time. And like we said earlier, your spouse will recognize those micro body language that we have, rolling of the eyes or walking out of the room while you're talking. So be mindful when you're having those conversations. So I would love to hear from any of those folks that have significant others and spouses, what they have done or recognize their spouse doing, because now that we become aware of or noticing, right? Noticing what we're noticing, that my spouse, when I'm talking about 20 minutes of my work, she's sitting over on the couch, right? She's not even listening anymore, right? Or when I'm, frustrated and going blah, 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 that he walks out of the room and waits until he doesn't hear me anymore. So the way that we speak and our body language is so important. What do you think, Christine?
I totally agree. And there's a part of our brain that was trained from generation to generation to
Yes.
tune out, to go into that, you know, if we look at our parents, what did our parents and grandparents do to each other? Some of you are so lucky and you have these beautiful grandparents or parents who taught you respect and lived that way. But many of us were not raised in that. And so there's all this trauma that we carry within us, all this pain and these hurts. But home is the safe space where it was safe to let out all your anger, where it was safe to let out all your overwhelm and dump it on everyone. And that's um, a habit that we
Yes.
need. We must, if we want to step into success and into our personal growth,
Yeah.
dish it out, zap that out.
Yes.
It is
Yes.
not serving you. Tell me how that is really serving you. How do you feel after you got angry or after you dumped on your significant other or your child? How do you feel? Do you feel really good about it?
Right.
Do you feel guilt? Do you feel remorse? Do you feel, well, if you love them, you obviously, in my opinion, feel
Yeah.
some guilt and some remorse, and you would love to change that.
Yeah.
So that's where self regulation can come in. And you can just
Yes. Yeah.
not be triggered. And that's hard.
Right. Yeah, that's exactly right. Christine, we don't ever get to stop thinking. We're always thinking, no matter what it is. Even when somebody says, "What are you thinking?" and they say, "Oh, I don't know." Well, we do. We always know what we're thinking, but whether or not we feel safe in
Yes.
sharing that, right?
Beautifully said.
Yeah. So, how do I react when someone shares an idea or a feeling that I agree with, right? Am I open or am I defensive? Christine, are you open or are you defensive when you disagree with someone's idea or feeling or feedback?
It depends. Those who come and trigger my safety area, my brain that says I'm not safe, when in reality, most of the time, I think 99% of the time, I am safe.
Yeah.
It's because I got triggered and that trigger just cuts me off. I can't remember when you said, we know you're thinking,
Yeah.
but my brain all of a sudden erased it. And I
Yes.
can't tell you. And I really have to go around in another space and ask myself, what was I thinking? What was I really thinking? I can't remember what I was thinking.
Yeah.
So to stay open, I will self regulate, especially with people that um, in the workplace. When I was working, I wish I had known self regulation to support me in interacting with some challenging individuals or sometimes some challenging parents,
Yeah.
you know?
Oh, yeah.
And
Yeah. I've
sometimes you
been,
just have to take the courage, have that courage. I still remember one day a dad came in, okay, and the width of his shoulders was this wide.
yeah.
Number one in the world for in North America for weight training. Okay, so this was, and I was like, oh, hey, I did not know I was speaking to Mike Saunders.
Right. Right.
And and I said to him, "Well, we've got a mentorship program and we'd like your son to find a mentor." And he's like, "I'm a good dad." And I was like, "I understand."
Yeah.
So I understand. But the idea is if something were to happen to you and your wife, wouldn't you like to have hand-picked someone?
Yes.
And he was like, "Oh, never thought of it that way."
Right.
So even though I didn't feel safe and didn't know how to self-regulate, I was able to take my courage for.
Yeah.
And when he heard what I had to say, and I said it in a low voice, so he was leaning in a bit to hear well, but it made it a way of creating some safety for the dad who had been tricked by what I said, right?
Right. Yeah. Yeah, I get that. When we're, instead of saying things like, well, that won't work, or, what made you come up with that idea? Right? You can always say things like, oh, I see where you're going with this. How can we refine this a bit more?
I
Right?
like that. How can we refine this? This is really good. Or we
Yeah.
can even ask things like, I don't know. Anyway, we need to acknowledge them,
Yes.
acknowledge the ideas before we get into the criticizing of them. Because
E-
maybe there's a part that we didn't understand because we had a micro distraction. Somebody moved something over there and our attention went there. We missed that word of not.
Yes.
And actually, we have the exact same line of
Yes.
thought. But
Yes. Yes. And if someone makes a mistake,
yeah,
we all do it. Right? We've been doing it since we were trying to learn how to walk, right? Oops, wrong step. You fall down, you get back up and you try and try again. And
yes,
that's what we want to create, right? Is an environment where we're learning to focus and not to blame, where we're learning that if we make a mistake, we can learn from that mistake. I think it was Thomas Edison who said, I never had a mistake or a failure because everything was a learning lesson. So when we take the time to pay attention to the other person, whether it's a mistake or not, why did they make that mistake? Let's talk about and let's think of their thinking instead of our own, right? Jump into who they are.
yes. And
Yeah.
that makes us more approachable as a
Yes.
leader or as a colleague.
Yes.
And so it's so important to create the environment where they feel they can come to us because
Absolutely.
as leaders, we are innovators.
Yes.
Be, being an innovator when you lead means you're willing to try new things, to experiment new things. And if people are bringing you new ideas, breathe in, half,
Yeah.
the shoulders, and zap. If you have been in the habit of saying,
Yes.
no, no, we're doing it this way because we've always done it this way, it's okay. What if they could prove to you in a way, simple way, that it
Yeah.
works? Give them that space. Sometimes that might be the best answer in that situation.
Exactly. Yep.
So, Anna Marie, let's move on here. What are some practical tips to build a safe space? We've talked about some, but you have the three C's for creating safety, and I'd love to hear about that.
Absolutely. Well, the first C is curiosity, right? And you ask open ended questions, not a yes or no, right? And that is opening them up that you are curious about what they're talking about and what they're thinking. So you can say something like, tell me more about what you're feeling. What are you feeling? What are you thinking? Right? Because when we remove the I,
Yeah.
it becomes all about them. Right. And then we have compassion and validating the other's emotion before saying, well, let's do this. Right. We can say, I can see why you're feeling that way. And then you can go off into, well, you know what I used to do is this, right? But letting them know that I'm hearing you, I'm here for you. And then we have clarity. Be honest and direct, but do it with a beautiful heart, right? Here's an example. I want to understand your viewpoint better. Can you explain it differently? I have used that with my adult children now and with my grandchildren, right? Because my oldest grandson, he's been on some tangents in his world, and he'll just say, "Well, and I'll be, "Okay, grandson, I'm not understanding where you're coming from. Can you explain it differently? Because I'm not picking up that logic. Try again." And then he says, "Okay, fine." But then he gets it out. And then we can open up. I can get more curious about that. I can have more compassion about that and dig deeper in the clarity of what it is that he's looking for and how to get there, right? It's about having active listening skills, right?
Right.
So if I was sitting here talking with you guys right now, do you feel like I'm really paying attention to you? Does it look like um, you're important to me or that I'm listening to you?
I just want to leave, Anna Marie, but I'm not going to.
Right, because when we don't make eye contact, that means we're not paying attention. And I have a friend of mine, her eyes, they kind of do their own thing.
Yes.
But she, even without the eye contact, knows exactly what I'm talking about because she's practiced, because she knows that, her eyes do what they do, but she is practiced to listen instead of looking and listening. But it's so important for us to look at each other.
And she's facing you.
Yes.
She's not
Yes.
looking at the floor, at the ceiling,
That's right. She's
She's
looking, yeah, she's trying to communicate with me, even if that isn't. And so, because at first it was a little rough, and now I can joke around with her and play with her, and she's very open with, right? We knowledge, right? By saying, I see. Well, that makes sense. Go ahead and go on. Have you noticed that I'm nodding my head? You started nodding yours
Mhm.
because we agree. I'm listening. I understand. Right. And a really great way that I absolutely love is before you start to speak, right? We repeat, not exactly, you don't have to say, well, you said that, right? You can paraphrase it, but that we repeat key points.
Yeah.
Something that I did with my husband when we first got married, it was, I have 5 minutes to tell you what was going on. And when I'm done, bell goes off, ding, ding, ding. He now has 3 minutes to tell me what I just said.
Okay. Cool.
Yes, because now I know that he's heard me because he can repeat back to me, paraphrasing, doesn't have to be perfect, right? But repeat back to me what it was I was trying to get across. If he did not, I get another 3 minutes to re explain it, maybe in a way that he understands. And then he has another minute to tell me what it is that he heard. And then it swaps. He gets 5 minutes, 3 minutes, 3 minutes, 1 minute. We go back and forth until we have a complete understanding. And like we talked about earlier, Christine, this is important as well. Try not to interrupt or be dismissing, right?
Yeah.
Or that
Walk
jumping.
away and go cook.
Yep. And that's exactly right. Don't walk away and go play in the garage. Don't walk away and, go cook dinner. Don't walk away, but you really make sense of it. Stay there as long as you can and ask, I didn't understand. Can you repeat that or try a different way?
Because in the grand scheme of things, isn't
Yeah.
your relationship, aren't your relationship the most important thing?
Yes. It sure is. It's why I'm in it. And I can tell you, I have been there and done that in the past. Right. And when my husband and I got married, we decided we were going to do things differently. different from his marriages in the past, different from mine, right? And when we came together, we were going to do it completely different. Was it perfect in the beginning? Oh, no. But you know what? I can tell you, we've been together 13 years. We've been married for almost 11. We just don't argue. There is, people are like, how do you guys not argue? We find no sense in arguing. We would rather get to the core of what's going on,
Yeah.
fix it, change it, add to it, do whatever, refine our relationship. And when it comes to our relationship, we actually sit down and write out what we would love. We share it,
Beautiful.
we combine it, and then we work on it.
So you're co-creating
Yes.
what you want in
Yes.
your days to come, weeks to come, and months to come. And
Yes.
this can happen in the workplace as well.
Can. Yep. It absolutely can. I think I had said this earlier, Christine. I was talking to my daughter. She is a new manager for the company she works for. She now has 8 employees underneath her, and she's having a challenge with one of them. So in work, we create a win-win,
Mm,
right? Which allows us to explain, here's where the challenge is. Here's why we want to make the change, right? And now we ask the employee to jump in, and how can you make those changes? How can you, do whatever it is that needs to be done so that we're all safe
yeah.
in the place of work? So,
Beautiful.
it's kind of, he creates his, I create mine, and we bring it together and we create ours, right?
Excellent.
Yeah.
And if people need support with that, contact Anna Marie. She would be happy to support you with that type of
Yes. How do we
thinking.
do that? Yes.
Yeah, how do we do
Yes.
that?
That's right.
Connect with Anna Marie. She'll be happy to help you.
Yes. So let's, I mean, we could go on about emotional regulation and feelings, right? It's about taking deep breaths, right? So we can snap, tap, zap, we can stop and take a deep breath, right? Because when we breathe through our belly breathing, not our chest breathing, but through our
Yes.
belly breathing, it works on our nervous system to calm it down.
Yeah.
Right? And you can breathe anywhere. Nobody has to know you're not, oh, right? It can be very, very simple. I've seen it where you can just, I want to talk to you about something, but I need a moment to gather my thoughts. How about that? Right? Recognize that you're not shutting the other person down with negativity. Right? Yeah. Yeah. So let's jump ahead.
Okay.
Let's do a self reflection exercise. And then we're going to do some takeaways and we're going to close up. And just as a reminder, we would love to see your comments. If you click on or scan the QR code next to Christine, you'll be able to be connected with her. If you scan the QR code next to me, you'll be able to connect with me. And so here's a question that I would ask you, right, to ask yourself. Do the people in your life feel comfortable sharing their emotions and thoughts with you? Right? So that's a really good question to ask yourself. And if you don't journal, journaling is a great way to express, reflect. It's even a great place to get angry with, because when you write it all down, by the time you get to the end, your mind's already coming up with the solutions, right?
And if I may, there's nobody criticizing you.
That is right.
You're writing it down.
That's
You're not
correct.
collecting person A, person B, person C, person D's thoughts, and then
Yes.
everybody's dissuaded you when in the end it was the best thing you could have done for yourself.
Yes. And that's what
Really.
this is about. Women work more on self-care than men do. However, men need self-care as well,
Yes.
right? It's just as important.
Yes, they do.
Yeah. So the next question I would ask is, Have you ever dismissed, interrupted, or invalidated someone's concerns on purpose? Right? On purpose. I've done that. I mean, I'm going to tell you, I have done that. Yeah, what do I care? It's just you, right? That was one of those marriages in the past, right? Right? So, you know, we do it. We've all done it. So the question is, have you? So, what is one thing that you can do differently to create a safer space in your relationships, whether that be with your children, significant other, coworker, the guy standing behind you at the grocery store, right? So, we have all of those places because we are always moving around to other people. Even when we work at home, we still go to the store or get gas or whatever that looks like, right? Yeah. Yeah. So, all right. Um, Let me ask you this. I'd love to see this too. What makes you feel safe when you're talking to or listening? I shouldn't say talking. What makes you feel safe when listening to us? Do we allow you to have a safe space where you can put your notes down there and know. And these are private. These aren't going to be out in the world where everybody can see them, but where you can voice your opinion or your thoughts and knowing that this is a safe place for you.
We'd love to hear.
Yeah,
So, last but not least, sorry, my nose is itchy.
it's all good.
I was waiting to scratch now. So, what are the key takeaways that we try to bring to you today? That one, safety is about trust, non judgment, and open. Two, people thrive in environments where they feel heard, seen, valued. And if it's
Yes.
with your spouse and your children, I would add feel loved. They feel loved. I'm not saying you don't love them. I'm saying do they feel loved because of who they are, not because of
May
and
I add into
yeah.
that as well? It's not about head knowledge for whoever it is, right? Because I can say, I know that you love me. You just don't act like it.
Mm. Oh goodness. Yeah. 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 Yeah.
So
It
do they
top
feel it? Yes. Here,
yes.
here, here.
In the
Yes.
heart.
Yes.
Your child, when you talk to them, are they rolling their eyes and walking away? Well, maybe they don't feel loved.
Yeah.
So then you just need adjustments and steps into success is what
Yes.
it's about. It's a men's forum on personal growth so that you can look. Okay. So safety, about trust, non judgment, openness, people that are you creating an environment where they can feel seen, heard, loved, and valued? And are you creating small changes on how you are listening and responding so that you can strengthen, even transform your relationships?
Hmm. Yes.
Now, weekly challenge. Woohoo! Who's up for a weekly challenge? Do you want to give the first point out, Anna Marie?
Sure. Absolutely. Ask one person in your life what makes them feel safe when talking with you.
Oh, I love that. Number two, practice active listening and validation in at least one conversation daily. You might want to
Yes.
self regulate to make that easier.
Yes. Before and after.
Yes, and during, and during.
And during, that's right. I learned a new technique. That's right.
Yeah, doing
Yeah.
this, but I have other tricks if
That's
to them. So keep going.
yes.
Number three, Anna Marie.
Yes. Self check. When a challenging conversation arises, take a deep breath and ask, am I making this a safe place for them?
I love that one because the other day a dad was sharing with me that he said, I started raising my voice because of the situations. And he said, I noticed my kids moving away. And he said, I started your snap, tap, zap. And
Yeah.
I said, oh, I'm so sorry. I need your help right now because, and this might be in the future, I'll say the rest. And he
Yeah.
was able to notice that he was pushing them away because he was raising his voice.
Yeah.
And he had been practicing self regulating and being in the moment. But sometimes we fumble, we drop the ball, and it's okay.
Yes.
So he learned how to pick up the ball and just quickly, um, I can't find the
Shift.
right word, shift the
Yeah.
moment around that ended up with hugs for dad.
Yeah.
Imagine that. Isn't that cool? I think
Yes.
it's amazing.
It is amazing. And it's empowering, not only for yourself, but your children or significant other, whoever, right? When they recognize that you recognize things need to change, that opens the door, right? It's expansive because now they see it's okay to take a step back,
Yeah.
right? To self-regulate, take a deep breath, whatever it is that you that are comfortable with doing, right? And the more that you do it, the more comfortable you become. That will encourage your children, spouse, right? Coworkers, whoever, to do the same. To do the same.
Lead by example.
Yes.
I always say, create the change you wish to see in.
Yeah. You are the change that is in the room. You are the change. And I'll just give you a real quick example before we close down. My kids are 6 years apart, and the oldest one used to always say to the little one, "Get out, get out, get out! It's me and my friends. Get out, get out, get out." And at first, she excuse me, she was hurt. She would cry. Why didn't she love me? Why didn't she want me to be there? And it came to 4 years later where now, when my oldest daughter wanted to hang out with my youngest daughter, she was mean. And I mean right out mean. It wasn't that just get out, get out. It was, "Who are you?" Blah, and then
She was
my
hurt.
she was hurt. That's right. And my oldest daughter would come to me and she would say, "I just don't understand." And I said, "Well, you created the monster. You're the only one that can change it, and it starts with you." Yeah. We change it. We are the change. And so if you have a rough area in any one of these areas, whether that's your children, significant other, work, whatever that is, we encourage you and believe in our beliefs because we've seen it. We have hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of clients that have gone through it, and we know that you can do it too.
Yes, you can.
So
I believe in you.
yes, absolutely. Borrow our belief. We have enough. It's okay. So, by creating a safe space, we empower others to be honest, vulnerable, and connected. It starts with listening, validating, and showing up with presence and respect. When we make people feel safe, we strengthen our relationships, build our trust, and create deeper connections. Any last words, Christy?
Well, if anyone wants to share some insights or ask questions, feel free to put them in the chat.
Yeah.
We encourage each person to choose one specific action that you want to implement right now. What if you put that in your um, calendar or your phone as a memory reminder every day to focus on that so that you can start those mini micro changes that will create a big ripple effect.
Yes. Yes. And in saying that, we do have a worksheet that if you would like that as well, it is attached below. and you can go back and listen to this again, read the worksheet, and just kind of fill in those answers and be honest with yourself. We're not perfect. It's not about perfection, it's about progression, right? You're here because we know that you are looking for the change to create and grow, and you haven't been able to find it. So we're here to help. So we look forward to seeing you again. We are back every other week, but you should see the lineup here and you can go into whichever one you want to watch or rewatch. So we want to thank you for being here with us. We are honored to be able to support you.
Indeed. Lots of compassion towards your transformation or your changes, your shifts. Have a great couple of weeks and see you in 2 weeks' time.
Yes. And dream fearlessly from now until then. We'll see you later.